Hello and welcome to episode 163 of Retro Encounter, RPG Fans Weekly Off-Topic Podcast. My name is Mike Sollosi, and happy American Thanksgiving, everybody. You can respond to that, you know.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Having a moment of reflection.
I know, right?
I was thinking what I'm thankful for.
Yeah, right. I was not talking to listeners. They might be listening to this in June 2019 for all I know. But as everyone knows, America has two great holidays: Eat Inside Day in late November and Eat Outside Day on July 4th. And we are here to celebrate the first of those two holidays. Not really. We're just hungry and we like talking about food. So we decided to record a podcast episode about it. That's right. Today's all about RPG foods and drinks and cuisines and cooking and all of those things. And joining me for that discussion today is Tris Mendoza.
Hello, everybody. I am perfectly hungry for this, so I'm prepared to talk about food.
And also Keegan Lee.
My belly is ready for some good cooking.
You just told us that you ate lunch early for this podcast.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean I still can't fit more food in there.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Exposed.
And thirdly, Hilary Andreff.
Hi, yet another food enthusiast here.
Yeah. You know, it's a little weird if someone says, you know what, I'm really not interested in the idea of food or eating. That is a bit of a red flag when I get to know a person.
Have you ever met somebody who said that? Because that is
I know, right?
Shockingly, yes. He's not here anymore. The four of us love food and love the idea of food, at least. I'm gonna assume that. And I'm not alone in saying that sometimes if I'm playing an RPG and there's a big cooking scene, or you get a nice image of something of like a big meal, or there's maybe a cooking system, and it says, Velvet ate some Mabo curry. That makes me a little hungry. That makes me my mouth water a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, definitely.
So, I mean, there's enough situations like that in RPGs that we came up with the idea for a food episode some time ago, and the timing for recording it ended up being right around American Thanksgiving. So that's why we're here today. We have a big list of topics that we sketched out for this episode, and I think we're just going to sort of poke through them willy-nilly. Keegan, do you mind picking a topic from the list just to get us a little hungrier today?
Absolutely. I'm going to pick one from a game series I've been really delving into. It's not the most traditional cuisine that you'd expect for Thanksgiving, but the Yakuza series doesn't necessarily have a cooking system, but food is a prominent item within the game series, especially the restaurants that you find throughout Kamurocho and Sotenbori. I believe I pronounced that correctly. It just
their neighborhoods in Tokyo and Osaka, respectively. Yes. Sotenbori is really only in Yakuza 2, but I think that's right.
Yeah, but these restaurants range the gambit completely across Japanese and multiple different Eastern cuisines. You have ramen shops. You have a lot of sushi shops. You even have food that I wouldn't expect to see around, like salted tongue, something that I don't see very often when I go to a restaurant. And other things like it just really opened up my view of cuisine and all the different things that actually can be eaten. Mm-hmm. I may be wrong. This is me trying to remember, but the tongue items to eat, I believe they're found at the Korean barbecue in Kamurocho.
Oh.
So I'm not sure if that's. And again, I might be completely wrong. I feel it in my bones that that's the right answer.
Oh, I love Korean barbecue, so I'm trying to remember if any of the menus that I've eaten have tongue in them. Because I never get tongue. I think it's, for me, tongue is kind of like a delicacy for my culture, so I'm used to eating it.
Oh.
But so for me, it's not like a weird thing. But I don't remember ever ordering tongue at a Korean barbecue.
Yeah, I also love Korean barbecue restaurants, but I mean, there's so many options for the meat that you can get on the griddle that I probably can only safely identify 30% of them. It's like okay, how about the bulgogi and the spicy pork? Yeah, sure, thanks guys. But now I haven't played any Yakuza game more than a demo. Even though I did get to demo the Yakuza Kiwami 2 at E3 earlier this year. So what kind of benefits are conveyed to you by going to a restaurant? Like, how does it tie into gameplay?
The main benefit you get there is health restoration. So, I'm sure you saw it in the demo of Kiwami 2, but sometimes you can just get randomly jumped in the streets of Kamurocho.
Accurate. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're unsuspecting of it, can really do some damage to you. So rather than, forcing yourself to go buy healing medicine or stuff like that, you can just pop into a quick little udon shop, eat some food, and get back good to go. It also infects your completion rate, which is found throughout a lot of the game series, which is how, you measure how your 100% completion and whatnot. And these point bonuses that you get from eating every piece of food at a restaurant, you can put into getting extra bonuses. So things like increasing your dash speed or getting certain items that let you find more money or things like that. So really, it's got a lot of benefits.
So when you were playing this and broadening your own culinary palette, by broadening Kazuma's culinary palette, you get more bonuses within game.
Exactly.
Okay. Now I'm going to say something that's maybe a little unfair, so I apologize if this is not true to what Yakuza is. But I think of Yakuza as being influenced by the Grand Theft Auto games to a degree, especially since like GTA 3 sort of blew up what an open world action game was in the early 2000s. And in GTA San Andreas, I know that CJ can get fat or fit depending on your diet and exercise. Is it possible to make Kiryu really chunky if you eat too much?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Kiryu is always a very lean man.
All right, I gotcha. He's got remarkable metabolism, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I mean, one of the completion bonuses you get is called the bottomless stomach. Because normally you can only eat when you're damaged. But with this, you can eat no matter what your health state is at.
So you can unlock a perk that just makes you a complete garbage disposal of a human.
Yes.
Awesome.
Eat without consequences. Do you have a favorite Yakuza restaurant?
Ooh.
Let me think, actually. This is a hard one. Ooh, actually, I do know. Yes. In Yakuza 0, it's another one where you get to venture through Sotenbori. And I don't quite remember if it's in Yakuza 2 also, but there is, and Sollosi, you're going to laugh at this specifically, there is a crab restaurant.
Yeah? Awesome.
And as many of the other staffers know, I despise crabs, both the food and the creature in general.
Hey, they are the tastiest ocean spiders in history.
But these dishes look so amazingly delicious that I'm like, I want to try this.
Yeah,
it ain't no Red Lobster. It's much better.
Yeah, I grew up in the Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, so I think I would be thrown into prison if I disliked crab. So,
Right.
I put Old Bay on French fries. I don't know what you're talking about. But
that is correct. That is a good choice.
Yeah, all right, delicious crab restaurant in Yakuza 0. I think I've chosen my first Yakuza game.
I think this is a slight tangent, but I was reading an article called "Yakuza Play Yakuza," and one of the things they discuss.
I've read that.
I love that they discuss at length, like how legitimate the food bonuses are. They're just like, yeah,
really?
The spicy pork. Yeah, they're like, yeah, it sounds like the spicy pork should restore more health than the others, or
I think I read that same article, and my favorite bit of it was one of them was like, man, like this Kazuma guy keeps an orphanage. Yakuza would never do that. And then another one goes, no. Remember that one of our friends from 15 years ago did that too. And then the third guy goes, hey, but wasn't that a front for like a counterfeiting ring?
I remember that. He's like, well, it was, but he also ran it as a proper orphanage.
Yeah, exactly. That was a delightful article. I should track it down again because I think it was definitely linked to me from social media is how I found it. Yep. Yakuza, very, very special series. RPG fan, former staff member who does enjoy food. He's not the guy I'm talking about before. Rob Steinman recently played his first Yakuza, I think, at the end of 2017, beginning of 2018, and now I think he's playing through his fourth. So it's a game that can easily capture your imagination and has some very passionate fans all over the internet. And we decided that it's RPG enough, and our staff likes it enough that we began covering it. So, all right, that is some food in Yakuza. Thank you, Keegan. Hilary, pick something from the list that we can discuss just to get a little hungrier to get me in the mood for lunch.
All right. Well, let's go with something that's pretty current right now. Let's talk about all the different appearances of food in Undertale.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes.
Indeed.
Yes.
The thing that jumps out to me about food in Undertale is right near the beginning. When that very friendly cow lady is hosting you in her home, she gives you a cinnamon butterscotch pie, which, that just sounds decadent and delicious.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. And it's so cute the way she's like, but you wouldn't turn your nose up at cinnamon, right?
Right. Right.
I love Toriel. She's such a sweetheart.
Yeah, and
She is
her
a
tone.
cinnamon roll.
Yeah, her tone is very welcoming. Like she's definitely concerned, and she's definitely sort of a nurturing personality in general. And all of this is, takes a bit of more of a tragic edge the more you learn about the story of Undertale, which we won't discuss in detail here. We do have an episode from early 2018, though, if you would like to learn about the story of Undertale in detail.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was that was Chris, Rob, and Dom on that episode. A cinnamon butterscotch pie is a rich, sugary, grandma-ass food.
Yep,
And
I think it's one of the
Yes.
better healing items in the game.
No, it heals you. It heals absolutely. It heals you absolutely to max. And and there's another character who adores that pie from Toriel. But if you hold it in your inventory the entire game, and use it at the end, it conveys a gameplay bonus.
It's a very significant pie.
Yeah, it's a very important pie. But what other food is there for dealing in Undertale? Because I played it the year it came out, for an Extra Life stream, in fact. But that was 3 years ago, and I don't remember all of the food in it. But other than
There's
the pie,
a lot. There's
Okay.
the potato chips, and there's the spider donut, and there's I don't know. There's just
Spider-
oh yeah, the spider bake sale, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
there's the spider bake sale. There's Grillby's, which I always thought was super cute.
Oh,
yes.
The ketchup and
And
grilled
John's
beans.
love for ketchup, yes.
It's
So I
very
think what else
important.
is-
It's very important to get something at the spider bake sale. It's not even important what you get, as long as you buy something. Support
Yes.
your spider scouts.
Spiders. Exactly.
There's the restaurant in the hotel, which the name is escaping me, but it's the burger place
Oh, I'm trying to remember that too.
Oh yeah, no, I do remember that.
with Burger Pants, the NPC.
My favorite boss battle in the whole game is the Showbiz battle after the hotel. And if you eat one of the fancy burgers on television, then you get a Showbiz bonus. But if you eat a burger that you found out of the dumpster behind the restaurant, then you get a negative Showbiz penalty.
Yeah. Oh, I'd also like to propose that Undyne wins our most enthusiastic chef award for
Oh yes,
RPG characters.
I forgot about that scene. That's so great.
Undyne over
Papyrus?
yeah, over Papyrus, who cares very deeply about the food on the date.
The spaghetti.
Yeah,
Yes, he does. She teaches her character to cook, though.
right.
Yeah, with
She burns the plate.
very special results. I love that framing device in any form of entertainment where they go to teach a character something and it cuts to black and then it comes back and everything is a nightmare.
That's extremely anime. I swear, probably 50% of the anime and anime games I've ever watched have one. Usually, it's a woman who's very feminine and capable, but in everything except cooking, and is a complete disaster of a cook. But I want to talk about that a little bit on another topic soon. But
Yes.
in Undertale, I'm trying to think of other food.
There's a hot dog ? That one always made me laugh because it's like, what's so eccentric about a hot dog?
I mean,
And then there's
do you know what meat goes into a hot dog?
No,
It's
that's
true.
what I-
Unless it says all beef Franks right at the front, I do not trust. That could be a possum or something.
Also, do not forget the Tem Flakes, which I believe are just cut up pieces of cardboard, but still technically a food.
They are the Temmie Flakes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I also just really love the idea of a monster restaurant where their food might not necessarily match what your character can eat at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but also the dog salads. Those are kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, when there's several dog enemies early in the game, you can distract some of them with food.
Yeah, and you can use the dog residue. But yeah, you get the dog salad by using the dog residue, if I'm remembering properly, and it heals.
Maybe give them bones. I'm struggling a bit.
Yeah, no, it's been way too long.
It has been a while.
Definitely.
Again, it's been 3 years for me, and I played it all in one sitting. So sometimes went by in a blur.
But the one thing that I remember that's really cool about the dog salad, that is, once you have the dog residue and you get the dog salad, the amount of health that it restores depends on the flavor text, I think, which I
Right.
thought was really cool.
Yes, it does. That's what I remember too.
Cool. And so, do you craft the dog salad or cook it in some way, and then you get different resulting flavor text, or is it?
Yeah, I think you use the dog residue and that creates it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Interesting. Well, that's a lot of food in Undertale. That's more than I thought. I thought it was maybe. Again, the burger stuff came crashing back to me in a wave of memory, but I really had only remembered the cinnamon butterscotch pie vividly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think all the consumables in Undertale are foods, actually.
Well, and sorry, I felt that way about a lot of different items, or a lot of different games, actually. Going back and thinking about them, there's way more food than I would have first thought.
Oh no, I agree. I completely agree. I never really. It's weird because you never really think about it because it's just part of the system. But
Yeah.
when you're like actually looking for those specifics, it's like, how was this a list of items, you know? Like, I never really stopped and thought about these things until now.
Yeah, sometimes it's easy to just look at your inventory and it's like, okay, these are all potions that heal different amounts, but
Right,
the ones that
right.
sort of get into it, it adds to the texture and the flavor of the game, and not just what's going into your mouth. And
Yeah.
I'll change the subject a little bit, and I want to talk about the Tales of series briefly.
Okay.
We're talking about anime-themed RPGs with people that are bad at cooking. One thing
Oh my gosh.
one thing I think that's remarkable about Tales is all of them have a cooking system dating back to Tales of Fantasia back in 95, 96. And
Oh wow.
and every single character, you always choose the character that cooks. Whenever you have there's a food system, you find recipes, you gather ingredients, you use them in a very simple alchemy formula to create meals. But every character usually has a different cooking ability and cooking preferences. And it differs from game to game, but just to use Tales of Fantasia as an example, like Mint and Chester are above average cooks. Suzu is a very good cook. Kless and Clarth are sort of average or below average, and Arche is such a wildly terrible cook that you have to cook every item like 100 times just to have her gain 1 star level or something,
Oh my
No.
which is just tragic.
Oh my
But every Tales game has something like that. Like some characters will have a favorite food that heals them more. Some characters will be good and some will be terrible. Like Genus and Rain in Tales of Symphonia are brother and sister, but have opposite levels of talent in terms of cooking. And I think that's cute, both in that there's a pretty detailed, thorough cooking system in this game, and you have like cooking healing items. They aren't the only healing items, like in Earthbound or Undertale. You'll have like potions and jellies as sort of the regular healing items, and cooking ones that you can either eat right after battle automatically or cook. Or have out of battle once at a time. But you can't eat you can't eat a big plate of curry in the middle of a battle. It has to be
Right, because they're like more like field events. Yeah, like
yeah.
field items.
Yeah. They're like field only items, or you can have someone automatically cook something right after battle in several of the later Tales games. But
Oh, that's
it's
convenient.
yeah, no, it is
Yes,
convenient,
yeah.
and some of them like. I'm in the middle of playing Tales of Berseria right now, and some food items you can cook just to heal. Some will make you like immune to status effects in the next battle. Some of them will give you like extra BP and crystals for battle, which is part of the resource management system for fighting in that game.
Right.
Basically, Tales always has some thorough cooking system that is that adds to the personalities of each character. And also they have a recurring character called Wonder Chef, which is just a
Yes.
goofball chef in a cape. And you'll find Wonder Chefs. It depends on the game exactly how they handle recipes, but sometimes you'll find Wonder Chefs hiding behind pots or
He's like disguised as them, right?
yeah, or
Like
they'll be disguised as a farm animal or something, and then poof,
Right.
smoke. Hey, I'm the Wonder Chef.
Yeah.
Here's a new recipe. Huzzah! And then
Right.
that's how you get recipes. It's they take a
Right.
very fun, cartoony tack on cooking and food in the Tales games.
They do, and I think I like how in I think it's Tales of Symphonia where they actually have a side quest that involves like expands on the Wonder Chef and because he has the Dark Chef as the
Oh
counterpart.
yeah.
And I think I forgot who it was. I think it was Regal that was the quest for. Like you get his title if you accomplish everything.
Yeah, I think
But I
Regal and
remember that
Genus
was
are the two best cooks in that game.
Right. So I think it
Yes.
was that his, and you get some title. But I think for me, the Tales games, I'll be honest and say I was never a fan of the cooking system in the Tales games, just because it's so tedious, and I just
It's a lot of
never.
navigating menus and buying ingredients in shops.
It
Mm.
is. I think the first time I really tried to do it was Tales of the Abyss for the 3DS, and even then I was like, it's not worth it. I'm just gonna cook whatever. I'm just gonna have them like I don't even know. I just never really got into the system itself because I feel like it was just kind of like, oh, you can cook these things, and the effects for me, I mean, they're good, but they weren't significantly good to the point where it was worth it for me to spend that much time.
My
So
strategy is find a recipe that heals your TP and HP okay, program them to eat that at the end of battle, and then if I run out of ingredients, just see what recipe has I have a bunch of spare ingredients for. It can be a drain on your funds and a lot of time to get real deep into Tales cooking, and it's never really necessary.
Yeah. My
yeah.
Symphonia party ate a lot of bread sandwiches.
You're right.
It's very depressing to watch each time. I have always wanted to try and taste a gel ever since I played Symphonia for the first time.
I think
They look so tantalizing.
well, I think they're
Are they
basically
candy?
I think they're basically just like Korean gel candies, right?
I was thinking
Okay,
that.
that's what I would think. Yeah.
Because I mean I love those things. And
Yeah, they're really good.
when I hand them out for Halloween, they vanish, and when I keep them after Halloween, they vanish even more quickly.
Who's stealing all these gels?
It's Keegan, just kidding.
You're not wrong, but still.
This is not a Scooby Doo case. It's not an old man Smithers dressed up as a monster. The man is the monster in this mystery. I'm afraid.
No.
All right, so Tales has a lot of cooking, which is maybe not always important to the story like it is in Undertale. But Triss, you pick off something from the list for us to discuss next.
Okay, we first started doing or talked about this, the first thing I thought of was the cooking scenes in Persona 4. I laughed so much at those scenes every single time. It goes back to the whole, there's always that one female character that doesn't know how to cook.
Yeah, in Persona 4, it's all of them.
Yes, all of them. And strangely enough, even in the Persona series, I realized that the Priestess Arcana is the one that always ends up being the worst cook. And I'm like, why is this? Like,
So
is there a reason?
that would
Oh,
be
yeah.
so that's I guess
Fuka?
Fuka.
And
Yukiko.
And I don't know about Makoto though, or
I
I
don't-
don't know about if she's a bad cook
I
because
don't
she
know
looks
if
like
she's
she can
a-
take care of herself.
She
Oh,
probably
no.
cooks for her sister a lot. And I'm trying to think
Right.
if there's a priestess in Persona 2.
I
I
don't-
don't remember.
I
think
don't
there is.
remember. Yeah, I don't remember either because Persona 2 and 1, their things were a lot more different than
Oh yeah.
3, 4, and
And
5.
and
So
I've blocked all of my memories of Persona 1 because that game stinks, and you should just skip ahead to any other Persona game instead of playing
Yeah.
that thing.
But
But
two has a lot of fun restaurants.
oh yeah, there's
they do.
in 2 the Sumaru city's divided into neighborhoods, and every neighborhood has at least one restaurant and also a different franchise of the same convenience store. And so there's a lot of food that you can do in it, and some of the restaurants sell weapons, which I don't totally get. And
Yes.
what's his name? Eikichi's father is a sushi chef. Eikichi is sort of rejecting his father's desire to have him inherit the store, which is part of his character arc. But before we get to Persona 4, briefly, one of my favorite scenes in Persona 2 is when you're getting Maya's ultimate weapon in Persona 2 Innocent Sin. For some story reasons that do not make any sense at all, she has to eat an entire plate of horse mackerel before they give her her weapon. And she hates fish in all forms. So,
oh my gosh.
I don't know what horse mackerel is. It's presumably a very large mackerel, but I'm sorry, Maya. You had to suffer for that very good gun, the Megiddo Fire or whatever it's called. It's every quest to get a legendary weapon in Persona 2 is a little weird, but it's especially weird for Maya, who has to go to a restaurant and eat a giant mackerel.
It's okay. She's strong. She can pluck
I
her
know,
nose.
right? I don't think I've played that half of Persona 2 because I remember playing one of them, but I haven't played the other half yet. So
Yeah, there's Innocent Sin, which is only on officially translated for the PSP in English speaking territories, and Eternal Punishment, which is only on the PS1 in English speaking territories. And they didn't release the first one until a decade after the second one. It's a mess. Like discussing the Persona 2 duology is something I like doing very much because I think they're very good, except slightly dated games. Unlike Persona 1, which is a bad and very dated game.
I haven't played Persona 1 yet. I've played half of 2, and I think I played the PSP version, so I played the first half. I haven't gone back to do Eternal Punishment yet.
Okay.
I know it says Takuya and Maya are the main characters, right?
Yeah,
they switch?
Yes. Tatsuya is the main character of Persona 2.1, and then in Persona 2.2, Maya is the main character. Tatsuya speaks instead of being a silent protagonist, and your other 5 party members are innocuous NPCs from the first game.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
What?
Yeah. So like one of them is like an online rumor monger. One of them is Maya's best friend, and one of them is Tatsuya's police officer brother.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, anyway, Persona 2 is cool, but it's like it has a lot of good restaurants to stay on topic slightly, but it's a little dated. It takes forever to get new personas and upgrade your skills. And the encounter rate's a little high, but I think Persona 2 is very cool and very worth playing if you have a little bit of patience and like Persona, but Persona 1 is not worth it. So anyway, enough about my personal Persona feelings. Let's skip a little bit ahead to Persona 4. Tris, you were talking about how the how those 3 characters are all terrible cooks in their unique special way, and I think maybe most obviously in the omelet scene.
Oh yes. Oh my gosh, that scene makes me laugh every single time I see it. Yeah, so you had the omelet cook-off because they wanted to prove who they were, and they had Nanako as the judge.
And Nanako is a perfectly patient angel, of course.
Right? And then they all buy ingredients, and you just know that it's about to go wrong at that point already for some of them. And yeah, though it's just hilarious because then Yukiko, you would expect her to have it's kind of like one of those things that plays on your expectations. Like she's a daughter of an innkeeper, and then she doesn't know how to cook. And then Chie and Rise, it's just a very, very funny scene in general because Nanako just puts up with it, and then it's your turn to make an omelet too, and then you get to decide what kind of omelet you want for her, and she actually ends up liking yours a lot.
Yeah, well, actually, it depends. You get to choose 4 ways of making the omelet, and
right.
2 of them will get you 3 stars and give you a nice bonus, and the other 2 are less. She doesn't like them quite as much, but she says she loves them regardless.
Right. I think it's the one that soy sauce is the one that gives you the most. I forget which one it is.
Ketchup and soy sauce both give you the max. And,
okay, yeah.
I think the other 2 give you less of a bonus. I have weird memory for details for some of these games.
Very, very detailed memory.
Yeah.
I always wanted to try soy sauce with an omelet. Sounds like it'd be really yummy.
Yeah, well, I mean, making one with ketchup and rice is the traditional sort of cheap breakfast omu rice in Japan, and making one with soy is more of a traditional Japanese way.
Ah, okay.
And getting weird, Rise putting making one so spicy that Kanji can't eat it, and Yukiko making one. Her Yukiko's ends up being so flavorless that you can't describe it. It's less. They say it's less flavorless than water.
Right.
It's amazing how this tastes like
nothing.
Yeah. and then Chie makes some kind of eldritch horror omelet that that has a purple skull rising up out of it in smoke or something.
Yes, it has a malevolent energy of its own.
Yeah, which is similar to the curry scene earlier in the game, but before Rise joins the party, when Chie and Yukiko are making curry for everyone.
Yes.
It looks like some kind of, I don't know, some kind of first scene of Macbeth witch's brew.
Right. I think that should be a special ability of hers in battle.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Offering really frightening food.
Yeah, the food of death.
Can we also talk about the meat dimension of Persona 4?
Yeah, at the Chinese restaurant, if you order the beef bowl, it has an unfathomable amount of beef in it. And you need,
Oh,
I
right.
think if you try eating it, it upgrades 4 of your stats, which is very, very good. So it's an expensive but
Yeah.
efficient way of raising your stats. And if you finally get to eat it, then which I think means you have to have like 3 or 4 stats max. It's crazy.
Yes.
If you finally manage to finish it off, then you get I think probably a trophy in the Vita version, and that's it.
Right. I forget. I think and you get more bonuses if it's raining. I don't remember if that's true in the
Yes,
original.
I remember that.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I remember you get more bonuses if it's raining. You eat. I don't know why. I guess it tastes
I don't
better when it rains.
I don't think that's true for the Beef Bowl shop, but that is true for the other restaurants.
Is
You'll
it?
get
Okay, I don't remember which ones
Yeah.
have the
Oh,
bonuses for
yeah,
rain.
I think you're right. It's true for the other items, but the food challenge, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
in Persona 3, 4, and 5, there's multiple restaurants in each of those towns, which are, of course, oh wow, I can't think of it. It's Tokyo in Persona 5, that's easy. It's Inaba in Persona 4, and it's something Island.
I remember the high school was Kekko-Con, and
And the
Yeah,
mall is
Gecko
called
Farm.
Polonia Mall, which is a
Polonia.
flower that just has a weird name in English.
Right.
Is it Tatsumi?
Tatsumi Port. Yeah, Tatsumi Port.
yeah,
There
yeah,
you
yeah.
go.
Okay,
Yes.
Tatsumi Port Island. But all 3 of those games have different restaurants that raise your stats if you hang out and eat there. Like, let's see. I know it's the fish restaurant that gives you brain food and increases your knowledge in in Persona 3, and then you can go to the family restaurant in Persona 4, and if it's to study, and if it's raining, you get it's quieter and you get to study more, so your knowledge goes up even more. And
Yep.
and in Persona 5, instead of having the beef bowl challenge, there's a burger challenge. But instead of having a single beef bowl that just is a portal to the meat dimension, you have to eat increasingly larger burgers to meet the challenge.
Oh yes, I remember that. No,
Yeah,
okay,
I think it's Astro Burger.
yeah,
Right.
I think it is Astro Burger. I
Or
think something like that.
it's some kind of space themed burger.
Right.
they're Astro or Moon, one of the two.
I don't remember, but it's sort of funny that the business owner that owns Astro Burger, all of his businesses have some kind of space theme because there was a space shuttle toy that he never could get as a child that haunted him his whole life. So even when you go inside his palace, it's a big space station. It's a weird dark turn that just that is why the burger joint is called Astro Burger or whatever space burger it is. Oh, Big Bang Burger. That's it.
Big Bang. That was the same.
Yeah, I just remembered.
I
Yeah.
was like,
I'm looking at
Oh
some
my God.
screenshots right now, and it is ridiculous.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
this burger,
It is.
it goes from the protagonist, like the top of his head, to his mid chest.
And
huge.
if your stats are high enough, you can finish off that that bar stool of a burger.
No, I will say that Persona 4 is the reason why I felt like I learned how to like make omurice and Japanese curry. I really wanted to eat it. And I was like, this looks really good, and I just want to try it. And so after I played Persona 4 for the first time, I was looking up recipes, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to make this.
And there's a couple scenes in Persona 4 when they get sushi, because I think like unless you're very wealthy, sort of going out and getting a giant case of like convenience store sushi is like a big deal. So I remember
I remember
they have
that,
big
yeah.
sushi parties where they fight over who gets the good tuna and stuff. Oh, and
Yeah, they do.
there's a sushi place in Persona 5 that Ryuji likes going out to.
That
Oh my gosh.
poor
Yeah,
Morgana
that
never gets
I'm
any
like,
takeout.
I can't remember this.
Oh, and
No,
then there's the fancy restaurant in P5 too.
Yeah, there's the fancy restaurant where the politician and his goons are super rude to you.
Yeah.
But that's like a giant hotel buffet, I think, right?
Yeah, it is a
Yeah,
buffet.
right.
And it's example of food as a status symbol in an
Yes,
RPG.
exactly.
Right. No, I kind of really like how in Persona 5 your actual setting is in a cafe. I kind
That's
of
right.
really
I love it
like
so
that
much.
environment because
Okay,
you have
now
studios.
I'm gonna get a little 80s manga weird on you. I'm 90% sure that's because of Cat's Eye, which is a very famous manga written by the guy who wrote City Hunter, where it's three sisters who work at a cafe in the daytime and are jewel thieves in the nighttime, and they're trying and they're also trying to like steal the works of their artworks of their famous artist father, and one of them is dating a police officer and leverages her girlfriend status for intel. It's a very cool series, and when you there's a lot when you ever see like masked thief stuff. that's influenced by the Arsène Lupin stuff, or like even Lupin the Third, which is even before Cat's Eye, but doesn't have a cafe in it. For some reason, Japan really likes gentleman thief and stylish thief stories, and Persona 5 is just another one of those. What's his name? Kaito Mask in Detective Conan, or Lupin the Third, or Cat's Eye, like I said, or the current Super Sentai series going on is about thieves and police. But it's like Persona 5 leveraged that unusual Japanese story of masked thieves and and did it in a super fun way. And I mean, how about making coffee and curry in Persona 5?
I'll go for it.
I never imagined that combination, to be honest with you, because I'm a big coffee fan, but I never ate much curry before. So the idea of the two of them together was very interesting to me.
Well, Japanese curry is like practically a national dish, like I said before, and there's a zillion ways of making it. I know that. I mean, me being a sports fan, I know that Ichiro Suzuki, the famous Japanese baseball player, eats the same breakfast curry every morning, and that's part of what he attributed to, his being in such good shape, even though he was playing into his, I think, 40s. So yeah,
Right.
Japanese curry, not messing around.
No.
Right.
I was just gonna say, yeah, my immediate reaction to that was I can get both of those things in one place. Yeah.
And it's a famous curry recipe that was scientifically forged by Sojiro's friend.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I like how when you're cooking and making the coffee, not only does it look delicious, but you also get quizzed by Sojiro, and it teaches you like real life facts about the coffee.
Yes, exactly. That's my favorite part about it. Like, someone in that development team like loves that to that point where it's just like, here, have some facts.
Yes.
And I love the curry secret like recipes. Like I never make like curry from like actually from scratch. I use those bought curry paste already. So it's nice to see what they actually do for like homemade curry. And I was just like, this is so fascinating to me. I don't know why, but I just find this very fascinating. Like the foodie in me loves this stuff. Like
Yeah, and they do the same thing in Persona 4 with the lunches. They kind of quiz you. They're like, how should we cook this pork? And you're like, oh God.
The lunches that I failed every time.
and also all the social link, all of your friends that you can share a lunch with each have a different favorite food.
They do.
So which one you call to share your box lunch with will give you more or less of a bonus.
Yeah, and how well you cook it.
Right.
Exactly. Oh, so much cooking Persona.
There's a lot of good food stuff in Persona, but I think it's about time to move on. Keegan, let's pick something else off the list.
Okay. Let me see. Now I'm going off pure visual factor deliciousness for this one, but the cooking in the recent Final Fantasy 15 is so beautiful and so like amazingly realistic. Every person I've talked to who's even like looked at the game talks about how beautiful the food is.
It's possible I'm not quite as plugged into the communities of all of these games, but I think that FF15 is the only food in our list that became a meme.
Yeah, that is true.
And again, I have not played FF15, and I know that one of your party members is sort of the cook of the group, and he's coming up with recipe ideas seemingly at all times. But
yes,
exactly how does that work? Is he like do you find some item and they'll give him a thing, or will you kill enemies how does the system work in that game?
There's really two ways for it to work. It's either finding a specific item that'll kind of be the inciting item for that recipe, or certain objects that you'll look at within towns or try at restaurants in towns will inspire Ignis, the cook of your party, to give it a shot and make his own version. And usually the version he makes improves upon the stat bonuses that you'll get from the bot versions. So
So it's almost like Professor Layton in puzzles. He'll just see a stop sign and that'll make him think of a puzzle.
Yes, exactly. But the results are much more delicious.
Okay.
I'm getting like a little twinge of Joaquin from Shadow Hearts. Him just like seeing something in a town and going, "Oh, this is so inspiring."
Joaquin was my favorite character in Shadow Hearts Covenant, just because of how he would find his weapons. Like this mailbox, it's speaking to me. Joaquin, don't take that poor person's mailbox. Like, no, I think I need this mailbox. Joaquin, someone else needs that mailbox for mail. What are you gonna do with it? He goes, "This mailbox is my muse," and then he starts wielding it like a club. It's like, oh my God, Joaquin.
I can see him doing the same thing with recipes.
Well, he's a vampire, so he would probably have a very specific palate that might not work out for the rest of your team.
Oh, true. Right. I think there's something to say, though, about traveling with a guy and, you murder a giant plant that's been trying to kill you. And he just picks up, like, one of its arms, and he's like, I bet this tastes amazing.
Exactly. That is exactly my point.
Also, like...
Oh my God.
Okay, so this is kind of...
But you also said that the food in FF15 looks delicious after.
Oh my God!
And
yes.
not, so it's not just about the inspiration for recipes.
Oh, it's not just about, like, even like the most basic of foods. Like, I think the thing that you can cook no matter what, like whatever ingredients you have, is like a slice of pizza or like toast. And even then, like, you see the butter shimmer on the toast. Like,
oh my God,
amazing.
Oh gosh. So you're saying that if I were to ever get around Final Fantasy 15 to never play it hungry.
Oh no, you will.
No, or just play it with snacks. That's the solution.
With snacks?
Yeah.
I would be like, I'm gonna pretend this is the toast right now. That's buttery toast.
I would just get sad. I'd be like, this is not a delicious looking plate
right.
of food.
And also, similar to Persona 4, actually, I just remembered, certain characters in the party will heavily prefer certain foods over others, and cooking those foods will provide, it's either significant stat bonuses or increased experience. Because in Final Fantasy 15, you can only level up by camping or going to hotels to rest.
Ooh, nice. That experience boost isn't something you see often with the food.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of the two. So.
Yeah.
But it is.
But that's true. Working out is not what makes you stronger. What makes you stronger is those torn muscle connections rebuilding themselves when you rest. So that's that's very physiologically accurate of FF15, obviously.
There you go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
It makes camping look so nice. I mean, they are super rich, so they of course have the best camping equipment and what have you. But still,
it helps to be literal royalty when it comes to having luxurious items when you're traveling.
Exactly.
Right.
Not to change topic too much, but that's kind of making me think of an interesting parallel because there's a lot of camping going on in 15, but you still have a lot of fancier foods. But then Breath of the Wild, they really seem to kind of capitalize on that camping, traveling food kind of.
Yeah, I think we can change subjects. Cooking in Breath of the Wild is pretty wild, heyo, because I think you can cook like literally anything, whether it's monster parts or acorns or maybe not equipment, but just you're finding the randomest items at all times in Breath of the Wild. And you can just throw them all in a pot, and no matter what you throw in there, you will come out with something in about 6 seconds.
Yep, you're foraging almost, and just be prepared for a lot of dubious food.
I love the looks of the cooked fruits for some reason. Those look the most delicious to me in Breath of the Wild.
I like that. Breath of the Wild's, sometimes it does not make sense at all why things cook certain ways, but they do follow some rules, like cooking 5 cheap nuts or 5 cheap fruits will never give you quite the bonus of a fruit nut combo, or pretty much everything that you cook that is an edible food will heal you in hearts, but things like different kinds of fish might give you warming abilities, some might give you cooling abilities, and there's fish and grasses and meat that will give you all manner of things. So it's not like the only way to boost your power is eating mighty bananas. There's probably 7 foods that will boost your power if you cook them in a pot. There's a lot of good eating in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, and I like how you can find different ingredients kind of in proportion to like what you forage. So like smaller enemies will give you smaller pieces of meat. That's kind of interesting too.
One of the fruits that gives you a big health bonus, gives you temporary extra hearts, is a hardy durian, I think.
Oh yeah.
And I mentioned mighty bananas. Mighty bananas give you a small healing bonus, but also increase your attack power temporarily. And I knew a shop that would sell durians, and I found a grove in the southeast part of the map that just had piles and piles of mighty bananas everywhere, and then like one durian in a thing. So I would basically orchard farm and buy the one durian, and then just collect dozens of bananas and a handful of more durians in my jungle spot. And so for every boss battle, I would make like 3 fruit mixes that just boosted my attack power and gave me a bunch of extra temporary hearts.
Oh yeah.
And it was I became a fruit farmer in Breath of the Wild. Is the moral of the story here?
I've seen some playthroughs where people would like never cook and just eat the raw ingredients, and it would drive me nuts. Like, just take 5 minutes to
unless it's a speed run, they are not playing that game very efficiently. And also,
but no,
like,
this was not a speed run.
a lot of the tiny steps in Breath of the Wild are sort of fun too. Like, you can't cook on an outside grill when it's raining, and and sometimes you'll find cooking pots, especially if they were from an enemy camp that you cleared out or something, where you have to light it yourself. And find a source of fire or a torch or something. And so and again, it cooks in 6 seconds with the same jingle, which is a little inconsistent. That a fruit and mushroom mix cooks at exactly the same rate that a steak does, but they do a good job with the cooking in Breath of the Wild, and it feels like a meal.
Oh my gosh.
I made this myself. It looks good. Link is enjoying himself as he devours it.
Right, he's hanging out, exploring, eating on the go.
I think I've recently discovered now that the best way to get me to play an RPG is to tell me how good the food is or how good the food looks. Because I feel like now I don't own a Wii U or a Switch, and I'm like, I need to get one just to play Breath of the Wild, just to see the food now.
Spoilers from an episode of this podcast 6 months ago. We mathematically determined Breath of the Wild to be our favorite Zelda game in a favorite Zelda episode. So it's a very very good open world action game with a lot of RPG elements. And I played it for the first time earlier this year. I think I had to rush to finish it because I wanted it finished before we recorded those Zelda episodes. But it's an excellent game. It has a lot of really good cooking in it.
One other interesting thing to mention between those two games are sort of the real world tie-ins. I actually recently found a recipe that someone had come up with for monster curry from Breath of the Wild.
Oh, nice.
So that you can actually make it yourself. So that's kind of a cool element to this like RPG food. Like, I know people are coming up with cookbooks on Kickstarter for some older games, some newer games.
I've seen mostly in Japan, probably, of course, like advertisements for themed restaurants that sell video game themed food. There's a Dragon Quest pop-up restaurant that I know of where you can order I think like slime ice cream or something, and a bunch of things. And one of those restaurants I saw an advertisement for was selling a 86-ounce steak that was themed after the well-done steaks in Monster Hunter.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
I remember seeing that.
Yeah, I definitely shared it on Facebook and Twitter, so maybe that's where you saw it. But in Monster Hunter, you can find raw meat and catch fish and find them in a lot of different places. And you can either have someone in town cook them for you and then give you items in return, or you can try cooking them yourself on a little portable grill or spit at camp when you're out hunting monsters. Oh. The results are very delicious looking and very important because eating is how you keep your stamina meter high. But maybe most remarkably, in every Monster Hunter game, from the first PS2 one 17 years ago to Monster Hunter World earlier this year, you have to turn the meat slowly on a spit. You don't have to control it. You just choose it out of a menu, and a little jingle plays. And if you press the button at exactly the right time, it'll come out perfectly. Or if you press it too early, you get a rare steak that doesn't heal you as much. And if you press it too late, you get a burnt steak that isn't really useful. So getting the timing of that do 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 jingle just right is very important. And if you do it well, you get someone's voice goes, "Ooh, tasty."
It took me many tries. Oh, sorry.
And Tris, you were saying how one of the ways to get you immediately invested in an RPG is to describe the food in it. For me, one of those things is if you tell me there's a good fishing minigame in it, I am pre-ordering that nonsense immediately. And Monster Hunter World and Persona 4 and Persona 5 have pretty good fishing minigames, and I have grilled many a fish in Monster Hunter, but I think you only really grill raw meat on the portable spit. With fish, you can just sort of You can cook them in town, I think, or maybe fish are just ingredients that you eat raw. I'm I'm not used to doing much farming for food items in Monster Hunter because you get so many just by playing the game and hunting monsters that I never really have to do much collecting. But Monster Hunter, there's a lot of meat and a lot of fish, and I've seen at least one ad for a Japanese restaurant where you can order some obscenely massive rotisserie steak, Monster Hunter style.
Oh my gosh. Where is that steak now? I want one.
I've always wanted to try that meat and cheese platter that the Meowster chef in Monster Hunter World
God,
makes. That thing looks amazing.
It's the Meowscular chef.
Oh, Meowscular, sorry.
Because he's muscular and has an eye patch. He's a fantastic character. And whenever you pay for a meal in town, you get this delightful animation where a bunch of the little kitten chefs are cooking furiously, and then the Meowscular chef, their leader, does like the finishing touch by just putting a sprig of parsley on it or something. It's the animations are incredible, and the Meowscular chef is awesome. Oh man, and that's another food that looks very delicious. Is when you see the cooking animation when you pay for it in town. It's awesome. All right, Tris, give us another item off the list while I look for a picture of that steak that I found to share with you guys.
I think, for me, I love the Harvest Moon series and anything that resembles Harvest Moon. And I think pretty much food plays a huge factor in those series, just because it's one of the fastest ways to increase your friendship points with the townspeople. And every Harvest Moon game has always been different when it comes in terms of cooking and stuff. I haven't really played that much far back into the series. Like, I know 64 was a really huge breakthrough. I never played it. I started with Save the Homeland, and that one you actually have to buy your kitchen you have to buy the kitchen first before you can cook. So you have to have your house renovated, and you have 3 options. So actually you can cook from a frying pan, a pot, and an oven. And you don't really get recipes in the older Harvest Moon games. Now I think you do, but in the older ones you don't really, like, you have to experiment. And I always love that. I mean, I always sucked because I never knew what food was supposed to go together. But I really like the factor in cooking, because it's just it was new to me when I first played it. I think that was the first time I've experienced cooking in or in a farming simulation kind of RPG, where I never really, like, this is so cool. And in Save the Homeland, it's a really weird in that it's not the Harvest Moon game where you get married and have kids at all. The whole point of the game is for you to save your homeland, and there's 9 different endings. And one of the endings is through a cook-off. So you need to have a kitchen, and you need to find these like this old like grandma recipe that was stowed away somewhere. And it's hard to get that ending because you need to have it also forces you to look at your livestock, because you need to get golden eggs and golden milk from your chicken and cow respectively. And it was brutal to try and get that ending, because it was like you had to make a golden cake, I believe, or something like that. And every time I think of that, every time I think of like food, I think of like the Harvest Moon, even Stardew Valley, which is very similar, just because it really is a huge point in the game where, hey, you can give these gifts to them because it increases your points, and then you get these events. I don't know. For me, food in RPG, I always think of like, okay, this is literally what it's centered around usually. And then there's fishing, and it's just a whole.
There's fishing, you say?
Yeah, Harvest Moon, I believe there's fishing. I don't think it's the best mechanic wise.
Don't play with my heartstrings like that, Tris. Is there
it's
fishing?
not the best. I don't
There's
want to
definitely
get
fishing in the Harvest Moon series.
Yeah, there is. There's fishing in most of the Harvest Moon games. And it's just not the best mechanic wise in the earlier ones. In Story of Seasons, it's fine, but like, and when you go back to like PS2 eras, it's kind of clunky. I didn't really understand it at first. So, but the newer ones are totally fine. I would say go for that if you really love fishing. And so, I mean, and if you really love fishing, I'm going to kind of tie that into Fantasy Life, which is also like a mixture of action RPG meets Harvest Moon meets. It's
Right.
that one has an angler class.
Yeah, but in that game, you basically switch classes and you level the classes separately. But there's there's classes for battling that resemble traditional RPG classes, but there's also like hunting, fishing, and cooking classes.
Yeah. So you can. There's 12 life classes you can choose from, and you rank them up. I think the highest you go to is God class. And so yeah, there's you have mercenary, paladin, and then you also have like cooking and angler. So it depends on your skill levels. Anglers, angler you would need for cooking because a lot of the recipes need fish that you can't really buy. So it's kind of go works side by side together. I don't remember having such a frustrating time with being an angler. It was pretty simple. But I mean, honestly, it's like I don't know, it's fantasy life. You can never get bored since you can do so many different classes at once and you can choose which ones you want. But I will say that it's kind of like I wish they kind of expanded on each of the classes a bit more, like mechanics wise, because it's just very like same mini games. So when you're cooking, it's just I wish there was something different instead of just pressing A every single time still, and you just see the different animations when you're cooking. It looks good, but it didn't feel like you kind of. I wish it kind of immersed yourself more in terms of like cooking and like doing all those.
Now you want to talk about a game with a similar system where you level up different classes individually that includes fishing and cooking among those classes. Have I got a game for you? It's Final Fantasy XIV.
Yeah. Oh, I never played Final Fantasy
XIV. Well, basically you can level every class. I think up to 70 now is a level cap, and that's not just your warrior, paladin, bard, black mage stuff. No, you can level up your culinary and cooking class and your angler fishing class just as high. And all of the crafting classes are almost a separate game from the main story. Like it can get exceptionally deep, but the rewards are very good. Like cooking and selling food that gives bonuses for raids is maybe one of the best ways of making money in that game. And and leveling up your weaponsmith and your armorsmith classes is extreme. I think it's a I think one is called blacksmith and I think it's blacksmith and armorer is what they're officially called. And that can get you very ahead of the game on terms of making good armor for yourself. But without getting too deep into it, because for that we would need Mike Salvato or Caitlin Argyros or Derek Ginsbergen on this episode. Without getting too deep into it, the crafting is exceptionally deep in Final Fantasy XIV, and one of those classes is culinarian. There's a lot of bonuses for being able to cook good food in FF14, and the place where you learn how to cook starts out in Limsa Lominsa, in like basically like a pirate restaurant that you have to work at, and then I think after you hit level 50 and start moving into the expansions, you have to find sort of different cooking masters in new parts of the game. From the expansions to level it up and get more quests. And yes, there are quests and tasks for leveling up your cooking in those games.
Yeah, any of the crafting stuff has its own set of quests and objectives. And I recently decided that my little monk is going to be a culinarian. She's going to do Zen cooking. So I will keep you all posted on her progress.
My warrior is very, very focused on being an armorer, but I've leveled up all the crafting classes at least to 15-20 range. Oh, there's also equipment that you need for bonuses. Like there's ideal sets and ideal bonuses for every single crafting class.
That's right.
It gets the crafting in FF14 gets terrifyingly deep especially once you get into outside the earliest levels. But and one of them is culinarian, and you can cook some impressive food in FF14.
It's fun, but it's so much money to buy ingredients as a culinarian.
It's a huge amount of money and time for any of the crafting classes, and if anything, culinarian is what is maybe on the more difficult half of those. Like being a botanist and just chopping wood all the time is easy compared to the nonsense you go through to be a culinarian.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Is like minor botanists, they all kind of like as a miner, you go get your ore, and then you switch over to your blacksmith or armor. And you can kind of use the product that you've collected. But with culinarian, it's just the fish, and if a dish has no fish in it, well, tough luck. Get by it.
If you want to get a better kitchen knife, then you probably should level up blacksmith to be able to craft better cooking knives.
I just have a cork board of like threads connected between each class. Like you need to do this, you need to connect to this, and the Dark Knight goes to the White Mage like this.
Mm-hmm. And ends up and if you do that like for a handful of classes, you end up looking like Charlie Day in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia with that psychotic glare in his eyes.
I'm chain smoking 5 cigarettes at once. I'm constantly sweating.
Mm-hmm. Even your spreadsheets have spreadsheets, just trying to keep track of it all.
Oh my gosh.
Crafting an FF14 is no joke, but we can laugh about it because we're just talking about it on a podcast. So Keegan, do you have a new food topic for us to go over?
Yes. So we talked a lot about cooking for ourselves and for party members throughout this episode, but we haven't talked much about cooking battles, which is a big feature in a game that we recently covered, Suikoden 2.
I got into so many cooking battles by accident in Suikoden 2. Like I just wanted to go and talk to someone on the top floor. It's like, oh no, now it's now I'm assisting in a cooking battle. What is happening?
Yeah.
I think the time frame for that is like every 30 minutes in game, it'll trigger another cooking battle. So every time you go back to that place after 30 minutes in game, it just triggers the next one.
Yeah, it can be a little overwhelming, I know, especially running through it for the first time. And let me tell you, trying to remember favorite foods for 108 characters is a little daunting.
And they all have their own individual preferences, and they do matter in judging those cooking battles somehow.
Yeah.
Again, I did not pursue that quest line very hard, but I accidentally fell into those a couple times.
Yeah.
If you actually take note, some of the characters, when you recruit them, they come with food items, and that actually is their favorite foods. And
that's like, cool and all, but I think I'll just check a guide. I'm good.
Because the thing is, a lot of the guides didn't really they tell you what kind of like their taste buds are, but it's like, oh, they like sweets and stuff. But like these are actually like, okay, they like cheesecake. Like if you go recruit George Prime, he comes with 3 cheesecakes with him.
Oh yeah. No, Georg loves cheesecake. I think that's almost I think people were joking about that when I was looking at Suikoden 2 guides during recording. And the thing is, he's a stoic, almost samurai, like superhuman fighter, but he loves cheesecake.
Right. And yeah, the thing is, if you'll know, like, yeah, it's just a little funny thing about him, and I just love that. And but I think for me, when I play the cook-off, every time the one I want to impress the most is Luke, because that boy
he's so hard to impress.
Exactly. So when I get a 4 from him, I'm like, I won, like automatically. I don't care if I lost this round, I won because he gave me that 4.
So like, it's like you're watching a cooking show, and that one judge shows up that that just hates everything all the time.
Right.
Like you're watching I don't know, you're watching Chopped or something, and then it's like, oh no, freaking Seetsuma's on the show. Forget it. Like he's gonna hate everything. But it's like that's whenever Luke shows up to one of Hayo's battles.
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel like it was so weird. I'm like, I want to impress Luke every single time. Like, I know, I just want to score for him. Like,
those battles get super dramatic though as you continue on and winning them. I don't remember the exact works at the castle does get poisoned by an opposing chef.
Yeah,
and
they do.
To get the antidote, you have to. Yeah, it gets like daytime television levels of dramatic.
Yeah, because
it sounds like its own video game.
Yeah.
I would play
it. Right. Yeah,
but it does give you a lot of details about Hayo's backstory, and I believe it even affects his ending if you complete all of them. I may be wrong on that
changes,
one.
I think it might change his when they show all the 108 characters and what they've done in the future. But I think it does change the text. I'm not sure.
Well, I mean that is the equivalent of the ending for most characters in the game.
Right.
Yeah,
that's what I'm not sure, but I think so. I've always done the cook-off, so I've never not seen it otherwise.
Oh yeah.
I only did maybe 3 or 4 cook-offs, and I think I won about half of them. But it was a quest line that was a little bit too time-consuming for playing for the podcast for me.
Yeah, because if you lose once, you're out. It doesn't trigger anymore, so you can't really lose any of the battles. You have to if you lose once, it's over. You can't get the quest back. So it's very
yikes.
Yeah, so if you really enter it, the game does give you time to save before each one at least. So I'm really grateful that it does that, because if it didn't, I would have been so angry. But usually, great. Yeah. So once you lose once, it's over, because it is a cook-off, and I like that about Suikoden too. There's a sense of urgency, and like, okay, this is actually important that I have to win this, instead of giving you unlimited tries, because then it would lose the purpose of the whole thing. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm also going to take a different tack in terms of cooking and battles in this game. In Chrono Cross, cooking implements are even or kitchen utensils are a weapon type, and there's a couple maybe cooking or domesticated themed fighters that can join you. There's Orcha the cook, and also your childhood friend Lena fight with ladles and spoons as their weapons. And Orcha, you recruit him by fighting a demon cook that's threatening his restaurant. and both Lena and Orcha can join your party. I think, if memory serves, I think Orcha he's a red character, and he's like sort of an above average attacker kind of guy, and Lena is a blue character, and she is an okay element user, but mostly good for like restoring other people's elements, which is a very rare ability in Chrono Cross. So having her being able to like reload people's grids is useful. But yeah, in Chrono Cross, you fight with knives and forks and spoons. And I think that's unusual. I mean, how many times does that ever happen? There's Kina and her forks in FF9.
Oh, true.
Princess's frying pan is her best weapon in Super Mario RPG.
Yes. I remember finding a set of Chrono Cross keychains long ago and being super excited because Lena had the frying pan.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of Mario RPG.
I completely forgot about it when we were talking about 14, but I just remembered when we said frying pan weapon. Sollosi, you might remember this. I believe it was before.
Yeah, I think for culinarians in FF14, it's like cooking knives are the main hand weapon, and then like cooking pans are the offhand weapon. And you blacksmiths forge knives and armorers forge pans. And again, that's how crazy the crafting gets in FF14.
But there is a character who does wield a specific frying pan. Oh my goodness, I'm forgetting his name. But the rich boy who shows up in the post game of the original Final Fantasy 14. Hildebrand, yeah.
Hildebrand, yeah. And
his mother shows up in one of the more recent images.
That's right. That cutscene's amazing.
She fights in the style of a Dark Knight who used great swords in this game. However, her weapon is specifically a gigantic frying pan.
Yeah, and there's a scene where it's established that Hildebrand is a very strong, tough guy, and his father is even stronger and tougher than Hildebrand. But the only person that either of them fears is the mother of the family. And
yes.
she's a very tiny woman, and she has this muscular husband and son. But when she defeats them, she moves faster than a ninja, and with all the sinister aura of a Dark Knight, and she just whacks them with either a frying pan. I think it's a frying pan, but it might be a ladle or something. But Hildebrand's mom in FF14 is another prodigious wielder of cooking implements in RPGs.
Yes. Sorry for going off there, but
it's all right. That was a worthwhile topic. Whenever that why can't is the family it's like Baskerville or Tocqueville or something, but neither of those.
Manderville.
That's it. Yeah. The Manderville family is very, very important to me. It's so important to me that I definitely remember their names.
All right.
I'm satisfied now.
Okay. So, Hilary, do you have another cooking discussion topic for us for this episode?
Yeah, I think this is probably a shorter one, but I wanted to talk about some of the really strange produce that shows up in games like Legend of Mana or Dot Hack.
Oh man, or Odin Sphere is another one that has some real weird produce systems. But let's talk about Legend of Mana first.
I just never ever would think of a citrus squid as a concept for a fruit. And I mean, there are lots of them that are based on animals, and there's a pine clock. So all sorts of inanimate objects. Yeah, all sorts of inanimate objects and animals, and these are fruits that you can just grow in the orchard.
These like the combination animals in Tales games or in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, no, seriously, some of them. And there's whale mottos. I don't know. I could go on. And it's the other really cool thing about them is that they have so many different uses in the game. You can feed them to your pets to influence your pet's traits. Um,
Oh wow. Okay.
yeah, you can also use them to paint your robots that you can take with you fighting, and you can temper them. You can use them to temper your armor or your weapons. And some of them have really, they let you stack really important buffs, and they're an important part of your overall approach to making your weapons and armor stronger.
And just to piggyback off that, maybe some of the weirdest produce I've seen in an RPG is Odin Sphere, where you can collect fruit and seeds in the middle of a 2D large map, then grow them, and then eat the resulting fruit for bonuses or even gaining experience.
Yes.
Or cooking with them in a new cooking system. But like basically farmed Odin Sphere in a single stage, you can go farm to table in about 10 minutes,
Yep.
and use that to gain levels. It's Odin Sphere is a crazy game. I know the game has like 5 acts, and I only made it to the middle of Act 2.
It's so funny the way they set that up though, because it's like, wait a minute, okay, battle screen, I know, but there's a chicken running around, so I got to take care of this.
I gotta collect the chicken. I gotta fight enemies for seeds, and then plant them to make a tree, and then eat the apples to gain levels.
And kill the enemy.
Yeah,
and
I can't beat the boss until I'm at least a certain level. So I gotta cook more apples. It's oh boy, that thing.
And you have to. Probably the most disturbing, but kind of funny thing about it is that one of the two forms of livestock is also produce. I think the lambs they grow on trees, and they run around the screen, and you have to hit them with your weapon.
I never played the remake of this game. I had to. I played it on PS2, and again didn't get very far. But I don't remember that. Oh my god.
It's a little crazy.
Prodigious produce. I've used the word prodigious like 18 times in this podcast. I guess it's my adjective of the day, I guess. So Tris, do we have any? Before we wrap this up, do we have a final topic we'd like to discuss about RPG foods?
I do. I think one of the things I like is when a video game uses food to kind of develop characters, like they did on Suikoden 2. I want to talk about the Atelier Iris, Atelier Iris Eternal Mana game. I don't know if so in Atelier Iris, it's not really cooking, but it's called synthesizing. It's very similar to cooking, where you use ingredients to form items, but in some of these cases, these items are actually food based, and you get a set menu of what items you can use for the ingredients, and you can experiment on the ingredients you use. If you use different ones, they lead to different types of variations of that item. So it can be like this could be like a strawberry cake, and this could be like a mango cake, to give an example.
We should slow down a little bit. I mean, the Atelier series has been around for a long time, and Iris isn't even the first one. I think the earliest ones were on the PlayStation, and
right.
And all of them are basically sort of medium-sized or even slightly brief RPGs that just have a ton of crafting and synthesizing in them, and cooking and food is definitely included within that synthesis system.
They do, definitely. And I think I will say that, the Atelier series have been around for a while. I believe that Iris was the first one to be English translated.
I believe so as well, yes.
So that's why I was surprised at how huge crafting was, since I've never really heard of crafting in video games before. And so I was floored by making these combinations, and it got a lot more complex as the series got progressed. I don't know why that is. I kind of like the more simple terms of crafting and cooking in the Atelier series compared to now. And what I liked in the earlier games is they used that to expand the shopkeepers and stuff. So in Atelier Iris Eternal Mana, when you do synthesizing, the more you synthesize, the deeper the lore of each shopkeeper goes. So they're not just people you buy from. Like, my favorite is Blair. She's a baker apprentice, and at first you wonder why you comment on she looks very, the way she conducts herself is very put together, very kind of upper class, but why she's a baker's assistant. And then the more you bake, the more you synthesize her baked goods with her, she starts explaining her past and how she used to come from a rich family, but someone pretty much did something to she ran away because her family was losing their money, and like she wanted to make a name for herself, and so she ended up becoming a baker apprentice. And it just kind of explores each of the shopkeepers' nature. Like all of the shopkeepers, the main ones, they have synthesized options, and some of them do make food, and you get to know why they made this food, why do they like this food, what kind of taste they like about it. It's very expansive in that way, and it kind of really immerses you in the world itself, where it uses the food and the cuisines of the locals as a way to characterize the world. And I really love that, because food and world building for me kind of go really well together, because with us in our own cultures, it's like, oh, we kind of separate ourselves based on what foods we eat too. And so it's very it kind of parallels our own world in that way, which is why I really love Utter Iris and the way they did that. I wish they did that more in the newer series. The newer series I can complain about for another podcast. But
if you wanna get a good view of what the recent Atelier Iris games are like, if you go to RPG Fans reviews, I think Derek has reviewed every single one, or maybe 80% of them, from Atelier Iris to the present. He for some reason, he just always kept catching that assignment, and he, his opinion varies from game to game. It's not like he adores all of them, but that's one of those series that Dot Hack was like this for me in the 2000s. Every time I'd go to a game store, it seems like there was a new one on the shelf. It's like, how many of these freaking things are they making? But and the only one I have finished is Eternal Mana. But it is a pretty good game with a lot of good crafting, and they use the crafting for world building in a pretty interesting way. I agree with that assessment, Triss. But I haven't played enough of them to know what the crafting and cooking arc is for the Atelier series. And Atelier is a French word for I think it's workshop or craftsman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So. We're well over an hour. I don't want this podcast to go on forever. So there's one last thing I want us to try before we move into our closing arguments. We've talked about a lot of food. There's still a lot of food we haven't talked about. Let's each do a positive and a negative. What's one food or meal in an RPG that you would love to try, and one food or meal from an RPG that grosses you out and absolutely is not something you want to try? I'll go first to give you guys some time to think. I love a good steak, and those Monster Hunter steaks look so good when you make them, especially in Monster Hunter World, where the meals just look delicious, and when the muscular chef is making the giant meat plate when you've leveled up his restaurant as high as it can go. Then I'm going to say Monster Hunter steaks for a food I absolutely want to try. And for something I would never want to try, I'm going to go with Odd Morsel from Persona 3.
Oh.
Because when sometimes you'll get there's two items. One of them's called Odd Morsel, and I think the other one's called like
Soul Snuff? That's Soul Snuff, right? Because they both raise your SP.
No. Not a soul item. It's Odd Morsel, and I think like unrecognizable thing. But there's the soul items just raise your SP. But Odd Morsel is something you get sometimes randomly in dungeons, and sometimes it looks like something inedible. But they're gross and disgusting. But they're also, because they come from the Shadow World, they're the only thing that the gourmet character that hasn't tried before. So to start the Moon Social Link in Persona 3, you have to give weird, disgusting shadow food to the fat kid. And it's like, you know what? I'm glad that he's eating that and not me. And so, yeah, I'm going to say Odd Morsel from Persona 3 is something I never want to taste. So, Hilary, can you give us your own picks for that? One food from an RPG that looks delicious and one that's the opposite.
Yeah, I want to hang out in Saturn Valley and have some peanut butter cheesecake bars with the Mr. Saturns and have some tea.
Oh, damn! Oh, what a good choice. Oh, the earthbound food. I just want to hang out with Mr. Saturn in general.
Right? Yeah.
But Hilary, I have to ask you, who's your favorite Mr. Saturn? Because mine is Mr. Saturn.
Mr. Saturn? Dr. Mr. Saturn. Mr. Saturn.
Oh, yes, he's a very good Mr. Saturn.
Mr. Saturn's so cliche. Mr. Saturn is where it's at, okay?
Sure.
We discussed this at length before, too.
Yeah, the three of us were on an Earthbound podcast almost 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, just because I had to pick a dessert, because when I do a lot of cooking, that's usually the first type of food I choose. And
you
also,
like eating meals in reverse. I see.
I don't
I'll
always
have the soup and salad last, please. And then no, I'm too hungry for the salad. I'm too full for the salad. Oh darn.
Well, it's more like I usually end up giving a lot of desserts to other people. But yeah, I mean, usually that's what I have fun cooking. So That, and I love the tea and coffee scenes in Earthbound. They're just so relaxing and cute. So that would be my pick for something I'd want to do. What I least want has to do with dot hack, which I didn't quite get into, but there are a few different types of produce that you can find for your grunty. And one of those things is cordyceps, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with what cordyceps is in real life, but in real life it's a really kind of gross and creepy parasitic mushroom fungus.
Oh, yikes. Okay.
Really?
So I would not feed that to my grunty ever, and I would not want to eat it myself.
Oh, I think cordyceps was the mushrooms that affected people in The Last of Us. Completely unrelated. But that's where I just remembered that from.
Yep, in real life it does pretty much the same thing to ants and like other small insects.
It's like there's species of mushrooms that spores target ants and wasps that'll take over their body.
Yep, and it affects them neurologically in order to promote its own growth. Yeah.
Did you feed this to your pet pig in dot hack?
Right? What?
Yeah. So no, never.
What the crap?
Okay, so that affected my appetite a little bit. Keegan, do you have one food you love the look of and one that you don't from an RPG?
Okay, I think for me, a love that I really want to try is the meat challenge from Persona 4. I don't know if I'd win it, but I know I'd be full by the end of it.
You still can't seed the rice. Your being floater of this bowl is a portal into the meat dimension.
And the one that I really wouldn't want to try is the worst food that you can make in Breath of the Wild. Just when you combine the worst ingredients possible, it gives you an image that's actually
blurred out. Yeah,
it's blurred and blurred out. It's so horrible that you can't see it.
It's like this image is inappropriate for this for this all ages video game.
And it's called like dubious food, isn't it? Or is
that's it.
Another excellent adjective for this episode. So, Tris, give us your choices for one delectable RPG food and one detestable RPG food.
Ooh, for this one, I love sweets. I love pastries, and I will have to say that the bakery in Altair Iris is one I wish was in real life, because I would buy anything from there. And
those video games are also very fluffy, very pastel colored. So I'm sure the baked goods and the sweet foods look good in that game.
Oh, they are. They very much are. And one I wouldn't eat Yukiko's curry from the camping trip in Persona 4. I love curry, and I do not want to taste anything that will make me not love curry.
I think, Yukiko and Chie cook it together, and it is
they do.
Terrifying.
I call it the curry of death, so I don't want that.
And when you're shopping for the ingredients, they're buying like lobster and just the most incredible combination of ingredients that and you see the protagonists get increasingly nervous as they list more ingredients while shopping for it. It's like, oh boy.
My favorite part of that is when they're walking along and Chie goes, I heard about adding a really strange ingredient. I think it was coffee, but was it mocha coffee or regular coffee? Like, oh, Chie, no.
And oh god, yeah, that's agreed. I don't think I want to try a curry that could result in a trip to the emergency room. I'm good. And I don't know enough about the healthcare system in rural Japan to be very confident either. So, oh man, we've talked about a lot of foods, and it's almost the list of foods we haven't talked about is even longer. I mean, Star Ocean, Patissiers, and Bravely Second, just filling homes with hundreds of wheels of cheese in Skyrim, Kina the Gourmand eating frogs in Final Fantasy IX, all the cooking and hunting and gathering in Stardew Valley. There's so many cooking systems and food systems in RPGs. We were able to fill a fairly lengthy episode with just talking about them, but listeners, if you are disappointed that we didn't talk about your favorite RPG food, sorry. We're grown-ups that have time and time management issues and commitments. is why I try to keep episodes of this show under an hour 40. Anyway, Tris, Keegan, and Hilary, thanks so much for recording this episode with me. I had a lot of fun. Now I'm hungry, and I'm going to have a late lunch as soon as we are finished recording. And listeners, thank you so much for listening to us this episode. It was I had a lot of fun recording. Maybe you are about to engage in some holiday eating. Maybe this is completely the wrong time of year, but we are posting this on Thanksgiving. So at least for the Americans in the audience, happy Thanksgiving. And I am thankful for every one of my listeners and every one of my panelists on this podcast.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Oh, no, anytime. But anyway, time for housekeeping. Next week we have a Pokemon episode that we have canceled and recorded and delayed for a few months now, but it's finally happening. We are going to be creating our own version of the Pokemon League, and with me and 3 other panelists making our own Elite Four. That was a lot of fun to record, and that is coming up next week. In December we have all of our episodes in line. We are doing 2 episodes on 999, 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors. The slightly grim adventure game / visual novel for the DS, which I recently played on the PS4, and I got so engrossed in it I ended up finishing the game before we recorded even a single episode. That's my bad. Sorry, Hilary. So we have 2 of those episodes coming in December, along with an episode about RPG battle systems that is going to be a great discussion. Looking forward to that one. And also our special year-end episode for 2018 as the last episode in December. Listeners, if you want to get in touch with us, the best way to do so is to email retro@rpgfan.com. We check that every week, and I respond to every direct message that we are sent. We also have message boards, a Facebook page, Discord, a Twitch page, an Instagram page, all of which you can find linked from the front page of rpgfan.com. There are 2 other fine podcasts on RPG Fan, Random Encounter and Rhythm Encounter. Random Encounter is bi-weekly usually and is focused on current events. Rhythm Encounter is on hiatus and it's all about RPG music, and both of them are delightful listens. And also, RPG Fan, we have reviews every week, music reviews every week, features every week. We recently had a feature on the PS Vita, where we came up with I don't remember the exact number, 20 or 25 of our favorite PS Vita RPGs.
25?
25? It was 25? Okay. Yeah, but it was a long list of those that was recently published on I think the 16th or 17th of November of this year. So please check that out. And also review us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, however you're listening to us. We appreciate all the feedback that is sent our way, especially of the constructive variety. So thank you again for that. So panelists, let's share how listeners can reach us individually, starting with you, Keegan.
All right, guys, if you want to get in touch with me, the best way to do that is on Twitter. I am at Kaylee Brand over there. Right now, I'm currently talking about how Lizzie the Hacksaurus from Dragon Quest VI is the best girl in the Dragon Quest series.
That is incorrect, because the answer is either Bianca or Jessica or probably 10 others before Lizzie.
We'll have this fight off air.
Well, it's a fight that I've already won, so never mind. So, Hilary, how can listeners reach out to you?
Most efficient way to reach me is probably through our Discord. I'm EP Fire there.
All right, and Tris, your turn.
And also, you can also reach me through Discord at Therefore It Is.
All right, listeners, there's a lot of ways to reach me. I am Monsoon on the RPG Fan forums. I am Monsoon Mike on Discord. I am at The Real Monsoon on Twitter, and also at Evoker for Dogs on Twitter when I get a little too weird for regular Twitter. I think that's about it. Man, I don't know about you 3, but I am hungry, and I am going to go to a Vietnamese restaurant for 3 banh mi's right after we're done recording.
Oh my gosh.
Sounds good.
Yeah, right.
I'm feeling some coffee and croissants.
Coffee and curry.
There you go. Coffee and a giant plate of curry.
But anyway, listeners, thank you, good night, and good luck.